Hello, everyone. We have somebody really special, and we've already having a lot of tech issues, but finally we have the co-founder of Sex Workers Outreach Program Behind Bars, Alex Andrews. Thanks so much, Alex, for being here with us. Um, I think you guys are doing something really amazing, and instead of me talking, I would love if you can tell people what is this organization all about.
The Sex Worker Outreach Project is a national organization, and SWOP Behind Bars started out as one of their chapters. It was in March or April of 2016, and I got into a Twitter fight with a corrections officer from one of the largest women's prisons in the North America area, and it happens to be in Florida. And a couple of other activists got on there, and you know how you can really shame somebody on Twitter. Well, we just took this guy to the cleaners, and all of a sudden he pops up in my direct messages and says, "I hate my organization as much as you do." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I bet you don't." And so anyway, it started out as this fight on Twitter with this corrections officer, and we talked on Twitter for a little bit. We did some email exchanges, and then he said, "You know, we should meet." So Jill and I went and met him out in the middle of nowhere, you know, kind of between Tampa and Ocala and Orlando. And we met him at this, you know, like Premier Shops Mall, Starbucks or something. And we sat down, and he listened to what we were thinking about doing, and he said, "You should send him a newsletter. And, you know, you should just send some of the people that are in there a newsletter." And we looked at each other and we went, "Wow, that's a great idea. Let's send a newsletter to sex workers who are in prison. It'll be fun." So we scoured the internet for people who were locked up on a third conviction for prostitution or on a trafficking charge or on something like that. We were able to come up with about 150 names and DOC numbers and addresses for people who were doing time and had also been involved in the sex industry, if they had a previous history or something like that. We sent out about 150 newsletters with, write us back, and we gave them our PO box in California, and then we sat back, and then we thought, okay, well, we're going to start the next newsletter, and it's going to be a little bit more fun. And, you know, we were going to have these columnists. We had Susie Q, the whore next door, and we had Maggie McNeil, the honest courtesan. They had all loaned us content from their own websites. So we cut and pasted, put it in a newsletter, and put it out. About 2 weeks after our first newsletter went in, we opened up our virtual mailbox, and it looked like a bomb had gone off in there. There were so many letters. Everybody wanted to know who we were, what we were doing, what was a sex worker. It sounded like it was really positive, but I mean, you know, they had no idea. They had no idea. They didn't identify as that. We had trans people, we had gay people, and we didn't have any kind of membership form or anything. As a matter of fact, we went 6 months sending a newsletter, and Catherine Koster nearly lost her right arm from writing all these people back and drawing pictures on the envelopes. And I mean, we hand wrote literally everybody. And by the time, I guess it was August or November came around, it was November, we said, you know, we need to put some kind of membership form or something on here so that we can, you know, keep track of what's going on here, because we were underwater from day one.
Absolutely.
No raft, no fins, no nothing. And we were buried in mail. So we came up with a membership form, and we sent the first newsletter back out again. And next thing you know, the membership forms just started coming in. We started sending 2 membership forms with every newsletter. We started talking about harm reduction, because the prison mailrooms were opening the mail, and they were reading our newsletter before they delivered it to the prisoner. So we were thinking, well, let's take advantage of this. So we started talking about harm reduction. We started talking about decriminalization. We started talking about self-care and self-healing, and we started talking about a lot of the things that the sex worker rights movement is known for. And that's how it started. We had, it was, and it's been a madhouse ever since then. You know, we probably have 5,000 incarcerated members, from all walks of life. Some of them are not doing prison time for sex work charges. Some of them are doing prison time for trafficking charges, because they were trafficking a minor when they were really being trafficked themselves as well. We got a letter from 12 women who were doing time in federal prison. They had all been domestic minor sex trafficking victims, legitimate domestic minor sex trafficking victims, but they hadn't arrested them until after they turned 18. So one woman was from California, and she had gotten a 20-year sentence, didn't even speak English. I mean, the whole thing was heartbreaking. It was incredible to see how many people were in there. And this is one of the first questions that I raised was, there's so many of these people that are in prison for killing the person who was abusing them or hurting the person or assaulting them. Why are these people in jail for, defending themselves? And so Jill is a researcher. She's much smarter than I am. And she decided she was going to do a research project to study the relationship between violence and sex work and incarceration. And so she's been at this study now for going on a year and a half. And we're finding out some incredible things about the prison system, because in the meantime, we've created pen pals, and we have lots of really interesting pen pal relationships going on right now. We have the Amazon wish list. We're encouraging people to donate their used paperbacks to the county jail. We took over the SWOP USA community support line, and we built that out, and that's something that we're looking to expand. The most recent project that we did is we did a bailout for the Super Bowl. There's always these crazy myths that surround the Super Bowl that, traffickers are sending all of their victims into the place wherever the big sporting event is being held, and they're being forced to exchange sex, and it's there's all these millions and hundreds and all this, and so they set up stings and they arrest hundreds upon hundreds of sex workers at each of these Super Bowl events. So we decided, well, we're just going to have a sex worker bailout. Yeah. And we didn't announce it ahead of time. We did some real guerrilla style fundraising on it, and when word got out that we were bonding them out, they started releasing them ROR, which was really cool. The state attorney got on and said, we're not going to be just arresting sex workers. We're looking for missing kids, and we're looking for people who are being exploited. Like, well, yeah, no, you're not, because you haven't arrested anybody. I mean, they charged some people with, with prostitution related charges, but they were like drivers or roommates or something like that. There was no big bad trafficking guy that was, flying people in, and for the Super Bowl. And I think that was it wasn't the beginning, but I think that really solidified the claim that sex trafficking isn't what you think it is. Sex work isn't what you think it is. We have a lot to learn. And we have a lot to teach.
Absolutely. So how do you when you said that people do not know what sex work is all about, what sex trafficking is all about. So what are you doing to teach the end users, like people who do not know so much about it?
Well, we have a lot of end users. We have the people who are doing prison time. We have the people who are getting out of jail. We do a lot of reentry work. We have the prosecutors who are sending people to jail and wondering whether that's such a good idea or not. We have the public defender's office who are just incredible allies. We have the anti-trafficking people who are convinced that no woman could ever make a choice to sell sex. Okay. We have feminists who, the National Organization of Women, their leadership is going against most of what their chapters believe, and that's they're trying to promote the Nordic model, where the buyers are criminalized but the sellers are not, and that's just ridiculous. You can't criminalize one side of a consensual transaction. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of end users. We have a lot of community members, and I really think that across the board, we've been able to build something that really that everyone can relate to, because our community is always at risk. We know that somebody is going, if it's not risk for violence, it's at risk for arrest, it's at risk for targeting, it's at risk for harassment. We're just at risk, and now that the coronavirus has shown its face, sex workers were one of the first groups to really be affected by that.
Absolutely. So what's going to happen now? Because they would not be able to, make any money. So what do you see? What's going to happen? Because for a lot of companies, for a lot of other professions, they've managed to go online.
Okay, well, here's the thing: people are not going to stop having sex. Sorry. There's no virus. There's no disease. There's nothing that is going to stop people from wanting to have sex and have intimate contact, because it's a basic human need. It's not that complicated. The world will go back to a different normal. For right now, we are doing a lot of, we're not doing one ourselves, but we're trying to promote as many local grassroots mutual aid funds as possible. We're trying to make sure that people are sharing and posting, and we're holding them accountable for posting accurate information. We want our community to get the best information at the right time. We're opening up our community support line to make sure that anybody's able to reach out and access whatever assistance they need. A lot of sex workers are moving to online formats right now because the public is still a little bit afraid. But the sex industry is not going to close. The porn industry, the sex industry, we're the innovators. We're the people that invent stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody would give a shit about the World Wide Web if porn hadn't figured out a way to use it and stream movies. So we'll be fine, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah. So let me just get a little personal. Who is Alex? And why is Alex doing this?
I have a lot of, okay, I thought this was going to work. All right. I have a lot of, I identify as a lot of things. I'm a sex worker. I'm married. I have three dogs now, 3 golden retrievers. I just got 2 puppies, 7-week-old puppies, a week before the apocalypse. So I'm calling it the puppy apocalypse, because that's kind of what my house looks like right now. I am the plaintiff in the Woodhull Lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of FOSTA in the United States. I sat on the board of NSWP for a while, which is a global sex worker rights organization. I'm not that important, but I think that my goal is to raise the voice of sex workers by any means necessary. And because I'm white and older, I have a lot of privilege, and I'm going to leverage that until every sex worker has a voice.
Amazing. And how old is SWOP?
SWOP USA was started in 2003. SWOP Behind Bars was started in 2016. And we are the largest chapter of SWOP USA, but we are also our own separate fiscal sponsor organization.
Great. And how many people do you think you must have helped, Anna?
Well, help is a lot of things. We have the community support line. We take a lot of calls about domestic violence. We take a lot of referrals from other organizations like Polaris, who doesn't feel like someone who's calling them might be the right kind of victim for them to serve. So they'll call us. We help people when they get out of prison by sending them a box of hygiene. We get them a cell phone with service on it, a smartphone, not a cell phone, a smartphone, so that they can go back to their community and access other resources like food banks, clothing, Goodwill, just so that they can communicate a little bit better. Get on Facebook, follow us on social media, you know, really get involved with the with our organization. We go to conferences and we do a lot of training. I'm kind of glad, to be honest with you, that is something I don't have to do because of the coronavirus. But at the same time, you know, I love hooking up with sex workers when we go to conferences because they're the best people in the world.
Yeah, that's true. All the people that I've met, I'm in love with all of them.
Yeah.
It's just that they keep on checking on you. They keep on sending you messages.
Yeah. We really know how to do that.
Yeah.
You know, we've always been intersectional. You know, there's a sex worker. If you're a feminist, there's a sex worker who has stood right beside you demanding women's rights. If you're LGBT, there's a trans woman that's been standing next to you asking for rights. If you're in the disability movement, there's a sex worker who's disabled who's been fighting with you on these issues. We've been doing this for a long time in a lot of other movements. And identifying as a sex worker and identifying as a movement, we've learned how to communicate, and we've learned how to do it. We've learned the thing. And we're going to keep doing the thing.
Can I ask you something? Why do you think there's such a big prejudice with sex work?
There's what?
There's such a big biasness against sex work.
Because it says sex in it. And in America, at least, in the US, sex is taboo. It's not something that you talk about. You know, it's just a cloak and dagger subject. I mean, I remember not being told anything about sex at all, and having to learn from one of my friends in 5th grade. And we were, you know, like sitting across at the lunch table, and her older brother was in the military, and so he'd given her the scoop, and she was telling us, and we were like, no way. And that's not the best way to learn about sex. You know, that's not how you learn to be safe. That's not how you learn to pick good people. That's not the right way to learn. But parents don't want to talk about it, you know? So if people don't want to talk about it, then kids are naturally going to be more curious about it. People in general are going to be more curious about it. You know, it's in our DNA is to have sex. That's what that's why we were created, was to have sex.
That's how
you know, yeah, I mean, to procreate, you know, to because it's fun. I mean, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of people that don't like the idea of women having control of their own bodies. There's a lot of people that don't think that women are able to make decisions about their own bodies. I think that the power of the movement to free and to decriminalize women's bodies is very important. And I think it's something that we really need to acknowledge, that, you know, we're trying to make rules about what somebody does with their body. I've seen politicians who are voracious about coming after sex workers, but they'll stand up and say, any woman has the right to have an abortion. You know, and I don't understand why they can't see the duality of their process there.
Yeah, that's true. So if suppose somebody is in need of some help or your support, how do they get in touch with you?
They can go to our website. They can send us a message on our message. They can write us at SWOP Behind Bars, SWOP Behind Bars @gmail.com. They can call our community support line at 877-776-2004, extension 1, and get whatever kind of support that they need. If we don't have it available right then, we'll go find it.
Great. That's amazing. And what do you see? What is the future? Where do you want to be in, say, next 2 years?
Well, I want sex work decriminalized in my lifetime, worldwide. I think that it's time that the government took its mitts off of women's bodies, and that they let us have bodily autonomy and do what we want. I also think that we need to stop being such idiots about the whole LGBT movement, because they completely left trans women behind. Trans women of color suffer enormous burden in this life, and we need to end that. I want to see an end to the violence. I want to see an end to criminalization, and the only way that we're going to get there is we're going to get there is by doing the hard work of connecting each other, and that's our job right now, is to make sure that we all stay connected.
Amazing. It was lovely talking to you, and I hope that we keep on doing good work and stay in touch. But
I just really enjoy you guys so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
All right, take care.